besides the total disability definition. We can have, for example, a residual definition of disability. And with a residual definition of disability, what we're going to do here is really going to help somebody who's in the process of going back to work. So we have somebody who's become disabled, unable to work. We want to help this person get back to work. This is where we use residual benefits. And what these residual benefits will do is they will replace lost income. You'll find a formula in your textbook on page 8-9 which refers to this replacement of lost income. Basically, what's going to happen is we take into account the income you were earning prior to your disability, the income that you're now earning. We say how much have you lost, and the insurance company provides a replacement for that lost amount. Usually, if you have a residual definition of disability included in your policy, and not all policies do, some people have to pay extra to get this definition, and for some folks, notably some of the folks in our 1s and 2s here, this may not even be available. So, with this residual definition of disability, we're going to find a benefit period here that's normally equal to the benefit period for your total disability portion of your policy. So if you happen to have an age 65 benefit period on your definition, on your total disability portion of your policy, well, you could also collect residual benefits up until age 65. If you happen to be in a situation up until age 65 where you're never able to go fully back to work, your ability to go to work is somewhat limited. Now, residual definition of disability is fairly attractive for the self-employed, for example. Or for contractors. Or entrepreneurs and the like. People who may end up continuing to do the work that they were doing prior to a disability, but may not be ever as productive as they were at the peak of their ability. Not everybody's going to fit into those types of definitions, though. We see lots of policies today also include a partial disability definition. And with this partial definition of disability, what's going to happen is we're going to say, we get that you're partially disabled. We want to encourage you to get back to work. We know you can't work to the same capacity that you were working in when you were able, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to, in most cases, replace 50% of your income, and we're going to replace that 50% of your income for usually up to 2 years. So that partial definition of disability tends to be a little bit more limited than that residual definition of disability. Really, that partial definition of disability is more appropriate for somebody who works in a salaried position or somebody who works as a wage earner. One other definition of disability that we find quite often today with individual disability policies is what we call a presumptive definition of disability. And with that presumptive definition of disability, what's going to happen is we presume you to be disabled if you suffer a loss of or loss of use of sight, limbs, hearing, or speech. That is, if you suffer a loss of any of those faculties, or the loss of use of them, even if you're able to go back to work after having suffered that loss, you will still continue to receive disability benefits. So somebody who loses their voice permanently, for example, and maybe takes some time off work on account of that disability, but ends up able to communicate later on by other means, and ends up going to work as a result, would still continue to collect their total disability benefits under that presumptive disability definition included in their policy. Now, this gives a short overview of the different types of disability insurance. We're going to, in the next phase, move on and have a look at the different types of disability contracts.